Welcome to the first monthly planning video of 2025. I am starting a little late because I was on vacation in January. By the time I'm posting this video, it is a little later in the month, so it's February 5th. Ideally, for the next videos, I will plan better and have these type of videos posted a few days before the beginning of the month, just for any one of you who want to participate, also have the time to really think a few days in advance for the month ahead. But please keep in mind that it's never too late, and even if we're in the middle of the month, just start. If you're anything like me, you might have many interests and want to learn and do many things at the same time, which is great because we're less likely to be bored. But at the same time, you might feel overwhelmed a lot of the times to the point where you don't do anything at the end. To prevent that, I really sat down with myself and thought, how can I be more purposeful in picking out my monthly goals? I decided to go with specific themes that would repeat every month, just so that I'm varying the type of goals that I'm doing. So as you can see in this frame, I went ahead with 3 main themes for my goals. The first one being continuing education. So there's a certification that I bought sometime last year, and I did start it, but then I decided to focus on another project, which was watching a whole bunch of master classes that touched on a little bit of everything. Now, another theme that I decided to focus on is choosing some kind of project, ideally small or medium-sized project, like nothing too big, something that can be accomplished either within a week or well within the month. And for this month's project, I really wanted to optimize the evaluation sheet that I use with my clients at the clinic. So what I noticed is that there were a few things that weren't really working for me in the document, either by the way it was organized or presented. So a lot of the things that I would have preferred maybe having an image where I would circle, let's say, the pain points or movements that I wanted to evaluate. It was just basically one word, 2 dots, and a whole bunch of lines. So that's definitely something that I want to focus on, especially that it has to do with assessment. And the more you optimize assessment early on, then the more efficient you will be in designing appropriate programs for your clients, whether it's someone in rehab, performance, or just someone who is sedentary, just trying to get back in shape. So optimized assessment, that's really going to be a year-long goal. And in February, I'm really starting with that evaluation document that I use. Finally, the third theme that I picked for my goals is a reading one. This might seem like a lot, but it's not. So for the reading goal of this month, I want to read a chapter from the textbook that I mentioned in other videos. And there's a book that I also bought on proper core training. You see me type in the amount of pages and the time that it would take me if I read that many pages of that chapter or that book. So for the textbook, all I have to do is read 6 pages a day in 7 days, and it'll be done. And we have 4 weeks in the month. So I have quite some time to read that single chapter. And we all know that during school, we read a lot. So I think reading 1 chapter in a textbook is very reasonable. From the book, same thing. So I took the total amount of pages in the book, and instead of dividing it by 30 or 31 days based on the month, I went with 20 because, again, just to give me a little bit of leeway, because it's not every day that you might be able to sit down and read and focus. Especially, you might be reading but not focusing, so you end up having to reread everything again. Now, my favorite part, planning in the agenda. So here is the first time I actually use a daily planner. I always loved planners that had an hourly breakdown. I feel like, again, being more visual, I like seeing clearly how many hours in a day that I have, and it just lets me be more realistic in what I want to do in a day, just so that I don't overshoot, but also not undershoot, because a lot of times, we feel like we don't have enough time, but when you sit down and actually plan it, you realize that there is enough time to do a few things in a day. So I'm putting in here my work shift. There was a small work shift that day, so I decided to give myself a little bit of time when I got back home to settle down, eat, and rest a little bit, and then to do some readings. So the first one being from, I think, the textbook. I figured maybe early on in the day, reading the thing that's a bit more difficult would be better, and then leaving the book for a little later in the day. Now that a few days have passed after filming this part, I can tell you that that day I didn't end up doing anything, but I actually ended up doing these the following day. So again, just being real, and you're not going to accomplish everything you want to accomplish every single day, but it's fine. And that's why I gave myself some leeway in the timing of everything. Just to track things better, I decided to put time it takes me to accomplish these different tasks, just so that I can, again, better plan accordingly in the future and really know how much time it actually takes. So I did have another book that I read in January about core training. I'm almost done. I'm basically just reading about how to properly teach different exercises and why some of them are not necessarily appropriate for a certain type of clientele, and how to minimize risk of injury and what you can do instead. And I find it really, really interesting. Honestly, there's a lot to learn about the core, and it's not really to make an exercise bad for everybody. It's just knowing which ones are better to give in certain situations. And I think it's amazing. I've been learning so much about how to properly train the core, and specifically the abdominal muscles, so the obliques, the transverse abdominis, and the rectus abdominis. And it's just amazing everything that you can just keep learning about. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe motivated a few of you to join me, and let's see how much we can grow and learn in this coming year.